Good evening and welcome to the Monday, December 2nd, Berlin Select Board meeting. To my far right is Carla Nuezel, and to my near right is Tor Nelson. I'm Joe Staub, sitting in for Brad Town. Is there any additions and deletions or deletions?
I do have an addition for a liquor license application.
All right. Any public comments? The WCUU SD mail town meeting ballots.
Hi, I'm Keely Sloan. I'm the Berlin rep for the WCUUSD for the school board. And I want to move that the town of Berlin allow the Washington Central Unified Union School District to distribute ballots for the WCUUSD annual meeting via USPS mail to all active non-challenged registered voters on our town checklist.
Is there any questions? Any discussion?
How long have we been, this has been being done for how long? Since,
Is it 3 years?
Yeah, I'm not sure actually.
yeah. I mean, I'll make a motion that we accept the mailing of the ballots.
Is there a second for discussion?
When does it have
Is
to,
there,
when's the deadline?
I think we need to know as soon as possible, but I'm not sure when the deadline is. Sorry. I think we were hoping for an answer tonight.
It's not looking good.
Yeah, I mean, do people have questions or concerns? I think it's. The second is just for discussion, correct?
I guess it could be for discussion. I know in talking with the town clerk, I guess it leads to some confusion, I guess, when there's just the school board or the school ballot being mailed out and the residents may not know that there's more to vote on. Because I was under the impression that probably the town ballots were mailed out with the school ballot as well, but that's not the case.
Oh, and we're not gonna mail the town ballots?
We have, I believe we
Can, but I mean, results from the last couple of years are in there. It doesn't increase
The response,
the turnout any, and in its expense. That quite frankly, the school doesn't have. You know, they raised our taxes, what, 15%, this year, and looking at another double-digit increase next year. I would recommend to the school district that they look to save costs anywhere they can, and in any little place they can, and it all adds up. For mailing out 1,800 or some ballots and only getting 183 returned in advance is not a very good at all return on investment. And like Joe, mentioned, talking to the Board of Civil Authorities, some of their members said it was, a pain in the rear having to handle them. That's not like that they used.
is it still true that if one town doesn't do it, you can't do it for any of the towns? Is that how that works? Or was that just last time?
I would have to check, but since we do represent the entire district, that wouldn't surprise me if that were true.
Okay, just asking.
Yeah, that's what the cover letter says.
Oh,
That's receipt from all member towns.
Didn't need the cover letter.
And it also states that it's going to be mailed to all active registered voters, or actually it says active, not challenged registered voters. And
I guess, well, I didn't mean to cut you off.
Okay. And so the short time I was here at the last election, it seemed interesting that there was an individual that came in and said, you know, here I had a ballot that was mailed to his address with a different name. And I'm wondering how many of those are not being brought forward. That's it.
I will second it with an amendment that this will be the only vote we take on this issue tonight. Or tonight's vote will be the only vote we take on this issue.
Is there any more discussion?
I don't think we should do that because we had to do this 3 times before,
I'm trying to avoid that.
I know.
It needs to take a
but
stand
there's
up
only
for that.
3 of us here, so. I don't think personally, I don't think that's fair.
Well,
So do you withdraw your motion then, or?
Is that how it works?
well, you made a motion with an amendment, and if you're not willing to accept the amendment, then right now it's dead.
Okay, so
Okay. You will table this to the next meeting. So moving forward, it's the mulching mower head purchase.
Yeah.
So you guys know that we rented one last summer. And we talked about it since, like, it saved the town a lot of money, a lot of man hours, and there was a very lot accomplished in it. We have since gotten the opportunity to purchase a slightly used one from the same dealer. They're new at 24,000. We can buy this one for 16,500, and a little bit of time and materials for them to install it on our machines. Kind of seeing what you guys think and what you feel. I mean, it cost us 9,500 just to rent it for one time, so for a little bit more, we can own it. And we can do the maintenance during the winter. The slow time in the winter time, we don't get a lot of snow. We can get out, do some more, get the brush cut back. And then when we go in the summertime, we can just ditch the roads, clean the brush up. And do lawn.
So you said slightly used.
Is
this the same one?
Hours. It's not the same one. This is a newer one than what we had.
Okay.
It's actually got a lot more, some more upgrades to it. Bearings are better protected. It's got some self limiters. So it's the newer model. Got less than, I believe, 100 hours on it. Just plastic with the packing slip and still stuck on the side of it.
I don't know, service would prefer with 100 hours or so.
And you mean,
Have they done anything to it?
they cleaned it up. It looks, it looks brand new as it sits there. You can barely tell it's new. Talking to them, they recommend their service every 400 hours, just check the bearings and make sure that the bearings are still good, but there's not a whole, the grinding teeth on it look like they're brand new still. The nice thing about it is it's local and they carry all of the teeth and stuff that we would need if it was to wear a tooth out. You hit a stone, chip tooth. They're just metal teeth and paramited or anything else that they do. All out, keep them sharpened with a set of grinders. I mean, they have everything right down there that need to work on it with.
Say it's local, what?
Yeah, Brian Tibbetts out of Southbury,
I'm sorry, Tim, how much did you say it was?
16.5, brand new one's 24.
What's the lifespan? You know,
Maintenance, thousands of hours, thousands and thousands. The nice thing about it is, the other nice thing about it is it's the right size where it fits ours, and if we were to ever upgrade to a slightly bigger machine, it can still be transferred. I mean, so we can, I mean, if we were to buy the next size excavator, this would still be able to be used on that one, so it isn't like it's a one-time.
Yeah.
Like we wouldn't have to buy a new one if we were to switch excavators, so it'll fit multiple uses. If we were to switch machines.
and what have we previously spent in the past on this activity? Like, is that typical that we spent what we spent this year, or?
Well, this is the first time that we've ever rented this type of machine, but we have rented, I mean, we do our roadside mowing. And that's getting up to, I mean, we did this year, we've talked in the past about alternating years from single pass, because the town's always done single pass on the dirt roads, double on the asphalt. But we're starting to lose our roadside, brush is becoming the overtake, cars are getting slapped, trucks are getting hit with breaking mirrors. I mean, and then with the last 2 years of flooding and excess work and falling behind on regular maintenance, I mean, it's hard for us to get out and cut a lot of road front ends.
Saves man time, I'm assuming.
Oh, yeah, you know what I mean? We did, like, when we were doing when we were first talking about it, I talked to a couple of tree services, got a rough quote. It's about 12,000 a mile if you were to hire somebody to do what this machine could do. We did for 9,500, we rented it, and we did close to 7 miles worth of road in 4 weeks' time. So.
I mean, it makes sense to me, I just don't,
You
like I say,
couldn't do that in the summer.
Yeah.
With man hours, and then still to ditch, to grade the roads,
Yeah.
all material, and then whatever else happens.
it makes sense to me, I just financially, is that tour, do you?
We have the money in the
We
budget
do.
for it, yeah. I move to approve the purchase of the mulching mowerhead for 16,500 plus installation costs.
Yeah, there was ballpark around 2,000, but that was high, he figured, depending on what our machine needs. All it really needs is just a coupler that would hook the machine to it and to run some new hydraulic lines back to the machine from the head. Because it's a sealed bearing unit, so it has to have they call it a drip line. If there's any excess oil that comes out of the pump, it goes into a separate crankcase, and then that gets pushed back through a third line back to the parent tank. So it's most equipment like our wrist and stuff like that, that's a 2-line system. This is a 3-line system, so they'd have to run a third return line back to the system, and then the control valve to turn it on and off that would have to be installed with the cat. So.
And did we just get an excavator, or
No, that one.
are we getting one?
Not,
Wait, okay, no,
not anytime soon.
okay, no, we have money for something.
I think we've owned it for maybe 7 years, and that's a 12 to 15 year.
Okay, I'll second.
Any more discussion? All in favor of purchasing the mulching mowerhead?
Aye.
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? Thought I'd ask. Thank you, Tim.
You got it.
Traffic ordinance, speed limit. Speed limits for crosstown roads.
So really the only
Good.
change from what we had previously discussed is Crosstown Road, I guess it's page 3, but I don't know why page 2 is, your page 2 upside down?
That's all right, it's easier to read.
Is right out in front here, the road is posted for 30 miles an hour, but that is not reflected in our ordinance, so make that change, maximum speed of 30 miles an hour beginning at the intersection of Town Highway 1, which is Paint Perfect North on Highway 5, that's not quite correct there, which is Scott Hill Road, extending until Town Highway 1, Paint Turnpike South. And then there was a gentleman, and I included the email in your packet, who was requesting the speed limit be dropped from the current 35 miles an hour at the 90-degree curve. Talking to Bob Wernick, our TAC advisory for the Planning Commission, Transportation Advisory Commission. He says that the previous traffic surveys done on that road do not support lowering the speed limit from the current 35 miles an hour. And he would recommend against it. One thing I've not looked at, it's not really relevant to the ordinance itself, is what the MUTCD says about advisory speed limit signs. That may be an option, but that doesn't need to be incorporated into the ordinance if, if that's the direction we go.
Oh, is that like if you put it before the corner?
The yellow
Yeah.
slow curve type of thing, yeah.
Well, I can tell you that corner is a little hard to take at 35. And if you're doing it at 35 and it's making it washboardy, maybe you go back out or just that corner.
The only unfortunate part is like, we can lower it. I don't think that people.
No. You can do anything with the speed limit, so they're gonna do what they're gonna do.
I like the idea of the sign on the corner, actually.
Pointers for us down, it's 25 miles an hour, 35 to 40 at that on a regular basis. So fortunately. Same thing, 62, close to the 50 miles an hour, but they're stopping people at 80 and 100 miles an hour down there. Unfortunately, people don't abide by the speed limits, but if we wanted to, that's easy enough. I can order a yellow sign. I believe it's suggested speed limit a little slower and we can.
Is that right?
Well, you try to get to.
For Rowell.
Yeah.
Is that what we're talking about?
No, Crosstown.
From
No, but Rowell Hill.
Oh,
is
well, it's the intersection with Cromwell Hill.
No, it says 35 miles per hour, but on here it says the speed limit is 25 miles per hour. Is this right?
No,
Where?
35 mile an hour on the 90-degree turn on Crosstown Road.
Oh,
He had two.
the tree on Rowell Hill.
Yeah.
I'm sorry, I read that wrong. Oh, gotcha, okay. I'll move, are we gonna vote on this? Do we wanna vote?
To
on
accept this.
No,
Oh, we don't.
because the only thing is, do we want to consider lowering the speed limit at that area or not? I would recommend against it.
I'm not seeing it as a priority.
I concur.
As far as this, so we'll have the formal public hearing on.
Oh, that's right, we have to have a
at the
public
next meeting, December 16th, and look to adopt it at that night.
I keep asking you that and you keep telling me that and I keep forgetting. Okay, thank you.
That will then start it's a 60-day process before it goes into effect with a 45-day petition period.
Great,
So
okay.
one last chance to really scrub this thing for any typos or anything like that.
Okay. Policy on private companies parking in uptown land.
So Mr. Bingham, I thought I saw you. There you are. You're hiding. Approached us at the last meeting, for a policy on the, particularly the tree trucks parking on town property and throwing it out there for everybody. Tim, you want to say anything or?
Yeah, we have enough going on here on this little dead end street called Shed Road. We have a lot of stuff that we know we need. We've got highway department, his men and his workers, and we've got police department, we've got voters, we've got recreation people, and we've got everybody else. Why are we just allowing these for-profit companies to use our land to park their trucks for years? And there might be some, Tim can tell us or not whether they're helped or not, but this is not an industrial park. This is not a truck stop. This is a residential community. Tim doesn't agree with me. This is a residential.
Zoning agrees with you.
Yeah, well, and it's such a small little road. We've already got hundreds and hundreds of trucks. If you guys don't know it, these tractor trailers that are coming through are 100,000 pounds with the material that he needs to spread on our roads. Granted, they need the material. It's got to come in and it's got to go out. I got no problem with that. Any town function, recreation, fire, I got no problem with it. But why do we have people sitting out there that aren't paying us any rent, that are just increasing the traffic? So on Saturday, I get up and I thought, oh, okay, having my coffee, open the window. And here come the Lucas workers first coming, and then the Lucas trucks are going. And I'm thinking it's a friggin' Saturday. I ought to be able to enjoy my home without trucks going by, for at least that small period of time. Then the other part was we had Winterset here, if you remember. So Winterset was doing work for the state of Vermont with federal government money on the interstate highway system. They were not doing work for the town of Berlin. They were doing work for the federal government in the interstate highway system. We allowed them to have a field office out here, a field office with electric, with plumbing, with heat, with propane tank. Maybe they didn't have plumbing. I think they had porta potties. But they were out here for 2 years while they worked on the bridges. This was during COVID and after. And then I talked to the gentleman. He says, oh, yeah, we're wrapping up early. We'll be done. Well, then the following construction season, they left them there because they were doing a project for Montpelier down on the very Montpelier, no, down at the bridge down there by Kia dealership. So I just ask you, there's enough going on here. Why are we inviting these other people or allowing them to park here? It's disrespectful to my community. There's an industrial park 3/4 of a mile from here. I've driven around. I've met some of the owners. I know some of the owners over there where they guys could make deals. Estes just moved down. You've got Nikon. You got the different locations over there where they could go and talk to somebody and work a deal. Winterset had some of their equipment up there in the end of Comstock. So the gentleman with Lucas, I did speak with him once or twice, and he said, one time he told me he was going to look, and he went and looked, and he came back and says, we just like it where right there because we feel it's secure. Well, yeah, it's secure because we have a police force, we have neighbors that care, we have workers that care. Yeah, it's pretty secure back here because you and I provide that. We provide that. They provide that. And I just don't think they belong here. So, I've owned this property for 9 years, and for 9 years, there's always been at least one, sometimes two, and up to 3 different private companies using this property back here, sometimes for short periods of time. But Lucas has been here for years. And Winterset was here for 3 years with the field office, with equipment, with trailers, personal vehicles. And why? There's an industrial park right there. Thank you.
In addition to his thoughts, this flat ground here in central Vermont that is next to our public offices, it has value. We just sold a piece of this property, or are in the process of selling a piece of this property for a significant amount of money to somebody who wants to park on it. If we are just allowing people to park on our property for nothing, we are missing out on something. We have roads that need to get fixed. We have trees that need to get cut. We have pieces of equipment that need to be purchased. And the nothing part of it should be on our minds. I would prefer that they park somewhere else as well. But the nothing part is a pretty significant interest. We're trying to get public works done around the community. We don't necessarily have enough money to get the public works done around the community, and we're just letting people freeload. That's not a good optic. So.
I guess, to counter your claim that they're freeloading, the town does get benefit from them. We do get no cost tree work done by the company.
When no cost? We're buying a new piece of equipment to cut trees, and
That's brush.
okay,
These guys remove
brush.
hazard trees that we can't safely. I've got 2 right now that are scheduled with them as soon as they get an opportunity.
How much does the rent cost versus how much it would cost for them?
Well, let me continue. I've got the floor, Mr. Fail. You've had your chance. Others use the yard as well. The sheriff's department several times during the summer, they park for weeks or months upon end, especially when they're expecting flooding in Montpelier.
July 10th.
That I got the form. Reasons why we shouldn't allow or consider not allowing the parking on the town land. First of all, our charter requires a townwide vote before we lease town lands. And this arrangement, even though it's not a formal written agreement, to me is very close, if not crossing the line of being a lease. We cannot accommodate every, so let's say, for example, it's the tree company, this week. But let's say in addition to the tree company, we've got a cement company or something, wants to park trucks, and then somebody else. We just can't accommodate potentially anybody who would want to come here. And where do we draw the line on that? And thirdly, I think Tim kind of hinted at this, it detracts from the grand list. If, these companies are allowed to park here for free versus, renting or acquiring other taxable land in the town, that would be taxed, whereas we're not getting the the tax benefit from that. Just another thought is, I don't know if they have to.
Is there a liability issue?
Well, I think there's going to be a liability issue. Yeah. And I don't know. I need a tax expert. Are vehicles charged for the personal property tax, machinery, equipment? If they are we receiving the tax benefit from that? I don't know, that'd probably be a listers issue. So I'm just throwing that out there.
And with the sale or soon to be, right, of the town property, we're going to be needing that space for ourselves anyway. Is this correct?
Right.
So would that mean that those people, that they would then move out into our parking lot? Or are we just not going to do it at all? What are you suggesting?
I would think we would probably not be able to accommodate them at all.
I would be okay with this if we just added or as approved by either the town administrator or the select board. Because I think there might be circumstances where it would be approved, you know, would be authorized. I don't think we should just have a blanket. It has to be owned or rented by the town.
Well, and I think I could agree with that. And the sheriff's department, in case of a flood, need to get the high ground. And I can understand that one.
Yeah.
You
But are we going to start carving out exceptions then?
Well,
No, I just think we should just say or as
know, in case of
approved.
emergency, you could have a select board meeting.
That, I mean, that would be my only recommendation is if we do it, we add in or as approved by the town administrator. I don't
Yeah,
think
I
it needs to rise to the level of select board maybe, but.
okay, go ahead.
Yeah, and I can appreciate that, well, you know, as an old insurance guy, I would wonder, you know, do we, are we a named insured on their policy? Are we, you know, are we named on their liability or geo policy or workers' comp or auto? In the right ways, because if somebody gets hurt out there, they always go after the deep pockets, you know, so if somebody falls off of that machine out there while they're, you know, checking something, it's icy and they fall off, who knows? They're gonna go after their employer and then they'll come after us. Or if they fall in a pothole, but the odds of that are pretty slim. I could see like if there's workers, construction workers out here with their ice rink, or perhaps building a new highway garage or something where they have trains or something. Obviously, that equipment is right there. They're using it the next day. It would be senseless to just tell them they had to leave or something like that. But companies that really don't do as much good. And yeah, I think there is some bartering going on, but I would just say, why are they here? I mean, okay, you barter a little bit, you know, as a community, we raise taxes to pay for all of our expenses. And as a community, we add into the tree and the trimming and the mowing and all that. And sorry, guys, maybe we just have to pay for what we need, you know, cash money and not these funny little deal. Maybe it's not funny, but this deal where it's sort of an out, are they paying? How much, who, what, how, and parking here. So thank you for listening.
So what's your pleasure?
I mean, first time we looked at it, do we want to vote tonight or do we want to?
Brad and Flo haven't had a chance to weigh in on.
Okay,
Yeah, that was my thought too.
Okay.
So we will continue, to be continued.
To be continued.
okay.
But thank you.
So appointment for the recreational board?
So we have a vacancy on the rec committee. Whitney Leclerc from U32 has stepped up to offer to serve on the board. She attended the last meeting, I believe, last couple of meetings, so she's coming up to board. So I will move
I'll second.
to nominate Brittany Leclerc to the Recreation Committee.
Any discussion?
If it makes any difference, we welcome her on the committee. She's already been an active member of the community, running craft fairs, being a member of the school community, and an active parent and member of the community, and she would be a good fit on the.
Good.
Sure. Thanks, Jeff.
All right. So all in favor of Brittany Leclerc for
Aye.
Hi, Rick.
opposed? None. Thank you. It's too bad she's not here tonight. Fire department merger updates.
So this is going to be a standing item for the foreseeable future as we go around stuff. The committee met last week, wasn't it? And hammered out a draft position description for the fire chief. So I think last night, I don't know if it, I don't know. I don't think everybody got a copy of it last night for
I did.
some reason, but I think somebody else didn't, which
Yeah.
raises questions.
So.
Janice keeping your mouth shut. Does
Ah.
Joe need a separate ride home tonight or? No,
No, we come separate cars.
you go, okay. Oh, you already got that, taken care of. So, I asked that everybody take a look. I took a brief look at it. Don't really see anything out of place on there, but want to give everybody a chance to take a deep dive on this and come back next meeting, hopefully for approval. Janet, is there anything you wanted to go over that's in the position description or Pete or?
No, it's based on the current,
Bylaws.
description. Yep, current department's bylaws description. So, and we just went through it and, you know, what needed to be tweaked. That's it.
So I was at the meeting and I think that it made sense to me that we start with, with what exists as this is sort of transitioning. I mean, I think my opinion, personal opinion, which I expressed at the meeting, was that maybe it would change if we ever went to a paid position, depending on what that looked like. I don't know if it would need to, but we thought it was best to start with what it currently essentially looks like now, and then, but just change the language. And Matt did did the majority of the work. Thank you, Matt. Matt, did you want to say anything?
No. I tried to capture what we have in there, and I tried to capture the things that I find in all the rest of them that I've looked at. So that's really about it.
Okay.
Cool.
We did sort of, one thing I did take away from the meeting is that this is probably should be done sooner rather than later and not necessarily waiting and, as long as we had originally anticipated. And I also saw a document that the committee had that sort of lumped together the sort of the transitional items and how it would sort of certain things would be done together. And that was very helpful for me to look at, to think about how this process would work. So it was a good meeting. Thank you, guys.
Yeah.
Happy to participate. But yeah.
You.
Can I ask a couple questions?
Sure.
What is the select board's goal and future envisionment fire department? Within like a year or 2 years forecast?
I can honestly say I don't have one. I mean, I'm still learning, and I think that meeting was very helpful to understand some of the issues, but I personally see this as similar to the police department, where we don't micromanage the police department. The chief brings issues to us as needed based on, but he essentially operates the department. And I would assume from what I've heard from other select board members that we anticipate this being very similar. Doesn't mean that there wouldn't be conversations about goals and, when can we move to paid positions, that kind of thing. But I think it's largely driven by the fire department is how I would view it.
Well, my opinion is you're getting a perspective from the fire department. And unfortunately, I don't think you're getting perspectives from outside fire departments looking in, which I think would be very important. Currently, this draft write-up, if you wish to choose and appoint somebody currently from the fire department, this ties your hands to doing that because the last item says it has to be a fire department member. Okay. But there's a lot of credentials not listed there that a full-time fire chief would have. And if this is what you want as a volunteer fire chief, then yes, these are the credentials you have. However, you don't have firefighter 2 credentials listed in there, which there's a lot of knowledge from being certified in firefighter 2. Firefighter 2, in order to be certified firefighter 2, they have to prove that they can go through and do a building size up and do a pre-plan for a building. Some little bit of knowledge of code enforcement. There's no write-ups in there regarding code enforcement. Is there a write-up as to who the fire chief answers to? I don't see the credentials listed in there as to who the fire chief answers to.
I believe it was select board.
Well, I believe that stuff needs to be in the descriptions.
Well, it is.
General supervision from the select board.
Were you at the meeting that developed this?
I was not.
Okay.
So
I'm sorry, do you even have a copy of the draft now?
Yes, I had it.
You do? Okay.
So I appreciate what you're saying, Nick, and I think from my perspective, ignorant as I may be, I don't see us going out and hiring somebody from outside right now for this transition because it just doesn't seem like that would make sense. So I think the current description of it being in-house to me works, but I'm welcome to hear what you have to say. I think if we were going to turn this into a paid position, I agree with you that it should be open to that the qualifications might change and they might require more certifications. And the other thing I mentioned was putting in there that the chief had to obtain certain certifications, if they did, in addition to what was the minimum requirements, if they didn't have them. But I'm not up on the certification, so I'm learning. But so I do think that there's room for all of that and all in those discussions. I just thought personally that it didn't make sense to hire somebody from the outside during this transition, but I'm one person.
And I'm not hired.
Well, that's what I mean, appointing somebody from outside, yes.
I do feel that as a serious consideration, as the select board should be entertaining, is finding the funding, finding the money, and making that a paid position, and opening up your pool of applicants. And if you choose the word appoint, to then appoint a fire chief, I think you'll have an serious improvement over what you have. Currently, what you have is not working. It's not working. That's why it's coming here.
I believe we're talking about the descriptions and not so much. I think that's your opinion of what's working and what's not.
And, Nick, I know we've had this conversation before. I don't see where the fire chief necessarily has to have the most certifications and training, but I do expect that the fire chief or I guess whoever is the incident commander at that time, recognize their strengths and the strengths of the other responders there on the scene And just because, you know, a fire chief doesn't know how to do a certain thing, let's say drafting from the river, doesn't mean that that whole operation gets shut down, you know, at that scene. You know, if you know, if the chief goes, hey, I don't know about drafting, but you know, Nick, you take 2 other people and you got 20 minutes to get a water supply going from the river. I mean, that to me is the attributes we're looking for, you know, at this point in time and with the chief.
Ryan?
So I do agree with Nick in that I don't believe the select board should tie their hands to exclude outside applicants. I think that this is a completely different model than what current department members are aware of. So I think by excluding outside members, you would eliminate anyone who was maybe a past member who has experience, but they didn't like the model that was or that is currently operating. And so maybe that's why they left. Maybe they had family challenges, and what we are doing currently doesn't work for them. But this different model might. I just don't see a reason that the select board needs to tie their hands to exclude it. Maybe that their desire is to continue with someone currently involved, but there's no reason to exclude it and then not have it, as opposed to have it and not need it.
If I may ask, so why hasn't the corporation taken that action within their bylaws already?
By different model, I mean like answering to the select board directly. Currently, there's no fiscal responsibility on the chief. That's the president. Obviously, there's fiscal matters that the chief deals with, but billing, coding, all that isn't on the chief currently. Chief does do some of that, just through different hats. But it is a completely different model. There's meetings that we have internally right now with our business meetings that are not the same as select board meetings. They're not run the same as select board meetings. The personnel issues are not the same as it would be with select board meetings. I just see them as 2 completely different models, which is fine that we're transitioning to that.
But I'm asking if the ability to bring in a chief that is, you know, not currently a member of the department / corporation is so important, why hasn't the corporation already made that change to their bylaws?
Because we would have to do that internally and change our bylaws to allow that. And I think that would essentially require us to rewrite our full bylaws. The way we choose a chief is currently requires them to be a member for 2 years, requires them to have fire officer for years before that. So they have to work their way up within our department currently. And I just don't think it is something that has ever been rewritten. We've always talked about rewriting our bylaws or changing this and that. It's just really hard to do it the way we have currently. And it takes a lot of time. And I don't think anyone's ever taken the time to sit down and draft it. But I don't see a reason the select board can't entertain the idea of selecting someone from the outside, or at least taking applications. Just because you take the applications doesn't mean you need to select someone from the outside.
So what if it was 2 years, but not the 2 previous years?
Correct, yeah. But they still need to be an active member.
No, I'm saying, would you be?
Why not? Let me try to answer that for you. It says being an officer on the department is up to the chief. The chief can select who his officers are. And the chief doesn't want a person to be an officer anymore, the chief can demote that individual. And it was written that way so that if a person had prior officer experience and wanted to run for chief, even though they weren't currently an officer under the current chief, they could still run for the position. It was an opportunity to open the door to somebody that was experienced that still apply and run for that position.
No, what I'm asking is, what if we changed it to say they had to have been a member for 2 years, but it doesn't have to be the 2 previous years? You said people that might have been members in the past.
Correct, yeah. But I also think that excludes, maybe there's someone from a different department that wants the opportunity to step up into a leadership.
But do you think that would be disruptive for the short-term change? I mean, we're trying to do this in 6 months.
Yeah, I think it would be disruptive, but maybe not in a negative way. I think.
I mean, because my thought is that we just wanted to get the transition done, right?
Yeah.
And we want somebody that leads that transition.
Yeah, I think that's a bad mentality to have, that you just want to get it done. I think
Well, but we kind of have to.
Yeah, but do it in the
Why?
right way.
Why?
I don't know, I thought there was a time
What's the
frame.
timeline? What's setting the time frame?
Well, for one thing, the budget, when the budget starts, it's gonna be a different,
Yeah, no, I don't disagree that it is a tight time frame, even though we haven't selected time frame. There's pressure for one
Yeah.
tight time frame. I agree with that. I just don't think there's any reason to not include anyone from the outside.
Has the town of Berlin received its, I guess it doesn't have to get permission to form the municipal department. Are you guys still processing the paperwork for forming or acknowledging that there is a municipal fire department? Is this considered a municipal fire department? How does this department fall under the town?
that's what the transition is about.
Right.
Okay,
So that's why we're saying essentially that before the next budget period, that this has to be, I think, because the budget will look different.
has anybody established a set of steps that should be taken?
Yes, we saw it,
So who established those?
the committee.
Steering, what has the lawyer said about any of it?
I don't know. We haven't gotten that far. I haven't heard that. We haven't gotten to that conversation because this was sort of the first step, was getting the fire chief. That was what I was informed, was this should be the first step.
A lot of the reason that there's a lot of questions unanswered is because this is being railroaded through. It's being railroaded through. And it's
I
because
beg to differ with you.
I
I don't believe it's being railroaded through.
Disagree with that as
If
well.
there's a big push, if there's a big hurry up push and let's get this done, that's railroading and ramrodding things through.
So did you get a copy of the possible timeline?
Yes.
You had a chance to look at it. And we're gonna be sharing that with maybe the town attorney to look at what needs to happen on our part. Okay. So the discussion was the position description.
Right. Well, I mean,
Well, we're not approving this tonight.
Right, no, I know.
So I got time to think about it and, massage some language changes if you think of any. But Nick, are you, I don't want to say even suggest, I don't want to say suggesting, but are you recommending that we proceed with a full-time chief with this inception of this merger or not?
I think. You see, I'm looking at the select board here is trying to be the steering committee, but if the department, if the town is looking for the good protection, if the select board is looking to have good fire protection of the buildings in the town, I think that's a direction you should explore going. Because you've got plan reviews, you've got, yeah, there is administrative work with it. Plan reviews, emails, better communication with the businesses for knowing who their managers are, what their phone numbers are, what their contact information is, what the hazards are on site. And knowing these and how to do this, it all comes with having the credentials, at least firefighter too. But above that, yeah, having a paid fire chief is probably what the direction you should be looking at going.
Now,
At
this,
one point in time, the steering committee even discussed, and the steering committee was the ones that discussed this. Mr. Kelly asked where I got my information. I answered at the grapevine, but it was the steering committee or information presented to the fire department that at one time suggested that the town was encouraged to hire 2 people on staff for the administrative work and whatnot. That there was probably going to be a paid fire chief and 1 other individual, but so anyway, with everything that's grown in this town and the risks and the hazards and to get the fire department the information they need to do their job quickly and efficiently. All the contact information, that stuff changes, some businesses every year. There's the restaurants change managers, and when the restaurants change managers, they change keys, and they change the keys, and the fire department doesn't get notified. And there's a lot of annual paperwork that has to go along with that. So there's data entry, computer systems. So that when firefighters get toned and go out in the middle of the night to the fire alarm going off over at Applebee's, they can actually call the manager and get a hold of somebody before they smash a window to gain access to the building. It's a lot of administrative.
So I agree with you that we need to right size the department, but I think that's kind of a separate, I mean, that's a progressive, it's not something we can just do now.
You write the fire chief's jobs description properly for it, and you start entertaining that you're gonna find the money and budget for it.
But how do we hire a volunteer fire chief? Are there people out there that want to do it for free? That with all those qualifications? I mean, I'm just asking, I don't know. So that's what I'm saying. This is still a volunteer position right now. I completely agree that it should be rewritten when we have the money to hire a paid fire chief. I think this should be rewritten, reevaluated. I just don't know that this is the time to do it. And that's all I'm trying to get across. And if there's tweaks that you think should be made, feel free to send those through emails to me or whoever, and I'll look at it.
and I would say, just keep in mind that, barely 5 weeks ago, at the informational meeting, we said at that time, we're not looking to hire full-time staff as part of this immediately.
Right.
But that's almost what we're being asked to do right now, is hire them come July 1st, if not before.
So I just think that I agree with what you're saying. I just think that we're trying to take these steps that need to be taken.
Baby steps, yeah.
Yeah. And I fully agree that we need to right size it for the growth in the town and all that, everything that you've said in the previous meeting.
It's not cast in stone.
But we can't,
but yeah.
yes. And I mean, we could call it an interim fire chief if that made people feel better. But just to get through the transition, if that's something that makes people.
So I have a question. Is the steering committee's job done?
I don't think so, but.
Okay. Are they going to be meeting again on this subject this time?
Well, I think it depends on not to create I think that now the work is with us, but we did talk about asking neighboring towns fire chiefs to interview for the position. We did talk about that because to be an interview committee. Right. That's what I mean, not interview for the position, but to be a committee to interview the candidates, because they would be better qualified to judge than we would as select board members. So I thought that was a good idea.
Okay. So if you're asking for an interview committee, then that's the potential that you're going to have applicants to interview.
Well, that was the thought.
So I guess I'm backing up to the application here is that right now you're limiting your candidates to only what's here. And there might be, I don't know, there may be somebody that's going to work for the select board and operate this department with potential of there being a paid position. There may be.
So potential is not there for a paid position. You're assuming that.
I think potential is there for.
Of course it's there, but not in this language. not in seeking a volunteer chief. That's what we're looking at. The other thing, as we did discuss in earlier steering committee meetings, was moving forward. But how do you get the funding for that? And as a municipal department, we have a much better chance
Yeah.
of getting those grants. So it's coming, Nick. It isn't being railroaded through. It's slowly, that steering committee met for a year. And a year to do this, which that's certainly not railroaded through. And now we're moving slowly. We've got to develop or formulate this municipal department. We have to do it correctly with the fire warden and all the legal aspects. And then I think probably we will need to, for exactly the same reason. I mean, the steering committee came together for the reasons you're speaking of. The town is simply outpacing in all volunteer departments' ability to provide the services we need. So we do have to move forward to that. And this is part of the step. And what kind of makes me laugh a little bit is the 3 fire chiefs that came to tell us how to do this all said, you are not even going to know half the questions you need to answer until you start to do this. And that's exactly where we are right now. We don't really even know what to ask. So that's, to me, a form of progress. We have to move forward to the point where we got to figure this out as best we can, move forward to develop a municipal department, move forward again to develop a municipal department with paid employees. And I agree completely that the job description would need to be changed a lot to do that. And the department will go in a completely different direction. I mean, full time. Just like you're saying, I just think we're not there yet.
Right.
I think if you leave it written as is, which I know there's gonna be minor wording changes, but with like the limiting nature of it to exclude outside candidates, I believe your potential applicants is sub 5. And I just don't think that's fair. I think you should open it up to allow anyone who has the qualifications inside or outside the department to apply.
Does anybody know in recent history, has any volunteer fire department appointed an external chief?
I don't know the answer.
Is there any precedence for that?
I don't know the answer to that.
Do what they're paid.
I mean, I know my Peter just did, but
I mean,
that's a, permanent full-time position.
I mean, it's not, I don't have a problem taking it out, except for my whole thing was, I thought it would be more better for morale to keep it within. That was my thought. If there's an issue and we, I mean, because they're gonna have to be interviewed anyway. So, the best, right? If that person, if somebody from outside is the best candidate, so be it, I guess.
That was absolutely part of the discussion. We're trying to keep all parties involved. Thinking about morale on the department currently, if we bring in somebody from outside, is I mean, I think it's slightly, I don't know, to think that you're gonna find candidates to be a volunteer chief. I don't
Well, and my fear is the optics aren't good for the select board to suddenly go hire somebody from the outside. I don't know, what does that say to all the current, I don't know. To me, it feels like but if it's candidates that are being interviewed by qualified committee, then.
Right. And just to be perfectly clear, we mentioned
Matt's got his hand up.
if they're, like say you have 5 applicants, great. But that the hiring committee should be those chiefs from, our mutual aid partners that we work.
Yep.
Montpelier, Berry City, Berry Town, Northfield, Waterbury, chiefs.
And they would make recommendation to the select board.
Matt's got his hand up.
Matt, go ahead.
I was just going to mention that this is just a job description. How the town chooses to post the job, internal, external, all of that is governed by the town personnel rules and whatever the select board decides. This is just a job description.
Right, but it does limit, sorry.
It does, but I see job descriptions get, waived and modified on the fly. We've even done it within the fire department. We've waived parts of our bylaws because we didn't have qualified candidates. I think a lot of effort is being expended right now over something y'all have got 2 weeks before you're going to decide anyway.
And I think Matt raises a good point. Let's keep it internal at this point. If at the end we don't have any qualified candidates, then we can revise it and expand it. But, talking about the personnel policy does give preference to internal candidates and for the position, so.
You're talking to area fire chiefs to be your interview panel. Run the job description by them and see what they think.
I can do that.
That's fine. That sounds like a good idea, Nick.
Do you have any update on insurance? Joe, have you ever get?
Just got it today. I'll send it off to you. You can then look at it. It'll be something that you can share with the rest of the select.
Okay. And then Pete, just a minute, Ryan, you had a meeting with the town attorney today. Want to go over that?
So in reference to a few of the questions, what has the town done to create a department within the municipality or a new fire department within the municipality? So the vote on November 5th gave the town the authorization to create a municipal fire department. What has to happen next is the select board needs to formalize the results of the vote by voting on that yourself, excuse me, to recognize and approve the formation of the Berlin Municipal Fire Department and to authorize the treasurer to include the new fire department's budget within the town's budget. The select board does that. That's the first step. As the town recognizing and formulating the fire department. There are a couple of other things that need to be done. You guys probably know about, but the fire warden has to change the name, has to get a new license. I think there's some mutual aid agreements with the surrounding towns that have to be changed. But what this does is the town says, okay, we are accepting and we're going to create our own fire.
That makes sense.
Okay. You'll put that on for the next meeting then?
You guys just have to vote on it.
Okay.
Good. Thank you, Pete.
Ryan, I cut you off.
Who are the towns that you've asked to be on the interview committee?
We haven't done any of that.
Yeah.
It was just a suggestion at the steering committee.
Oh, so you haven't asked other towns?
No.
Fire chiefs to be on the committee?
Not yet. We haven't even
That would
posted
be-
a position.
No,
That was somehow in the conversation, that was the.
No,
indication I got.
I said we talked about it and I thought it was a good idea. Personally, because I don't have experience with. interviewing fire
Is there,
chiefs.
Ryan?
Thank you. I just want the town to be very clear on avoiding conflict of interest. It is the chair of the steering committee that developed this is married to the chief. The chief is on the select board. I just want to be very careful about that aspect. And the chief is one of the few applicants that is currently with that, that is eligible.
Do you know how many applicants there are?
We don't have an applicants yet. We haven't advertised it yet. So.
I said eligible. Based on-
I would beg to differ at that statement. I finished up that job description after taking input from the committee. It was not the chair of the committee. I produced that document, and I think that would have been clear to anyone who had actually attended the meeting.
Yeah, so like Matt said, I mean, yes, I am the chair of the committee, but I did not develop that myself. It's taken from our current bylaws.
Right.
And
she was
it
clear
was
that she-
discussed at the committee meeting
I did not accuse you.
and
Great enough. I said you are the chair of the committee. Great enough.
I'm speaking, thank you. And, you know, for anybody's reference, part of the reason I think we also discussed having a hiring committee of those chiefs also included the fact that several of us on the committee have clear conflicts of interest.
Yeah.
And we do not want to be a part of that.
Yeah, we did talk about that.
So,
I just wanted to be clear.
Yeah.
So be careful.
Okay.
So I think going forward, I don't think we need to send it back to the committee for any updates. I think any tweaking of the language,
Yeah.
I think we can do ourselves.
I mean, I think if there's anybody here that has strong suggestions, they're free to send them to us. But I think that's a good idea to send it around to some of the other departments and.
Considered having the police chief on your hiring committee? I'd recommend it.
This is
Okay,
the first
this-
we've heard about the town
Yeah.
committee, Nick. It's,
Yeah. This is
Yeah.
all.
It's all, yeah. Sorry if I made it sound differently. We just discussed that would be a way to move forward with hiring because I said something about the steering committee doing it and Janet said, well, I can't be on that. And Matt said he couldn't be on that. So it was suggested that we use other fire chiefs. Anyway, okay, I think we.
Okay, so moving on, FY 26 budget.
one time.
Is that what you call it?
I will keep my mouth shut.
Thanks, Kate.
So department budget requests were due last week. Included in your packet, the capital budget request we've received. $180,000 to purchase
Oh,
94 acres on Vine Street for town park. $2 million to improve Kuwas Trail. Include the road, water, and wastewater capacity. $4.7 million for the Fisher Road diet. I will go out on a limb and say that all three of those not viable candidates.
Based on the size of the budget, I would have to say no.
Uh,
I know mine's late, we want me to speak about it.
sure.
Where did the Fisher Road one come from? I don't have that in my,
I didn't send that to you.
I have two of this, but I don't have a,
Yeah, I have duplicates.
that's all right. I was just
They
curious.
all look the same.
I figured it had to be, it's Tom or the planning commission. Just curious.
So you'll have to apologize, I was on vacation, so mine's a little late.
No vacation for you.
Really, the only large request out of the highway department is gonna be the replacement of one of the spot trucks, they're an estimated 300,000. Life expectancy of 7 years, we buy a 7-year warranty on them. So that pretty much covers most of everything throughout the lifespan of the vehicle, towing included, so cuts down a fair amount on our maintenance cost up front. And then, I mean, the truck that's scheduled to be replaced has already cost us just about 15,000 already this year. In breakdowns. It's out of warranty. That was one of the ones that was purchased and was missed on the extended warranty as far as it had an extended warranty, but it was only for 5 years, not 7. So it's the oldest, I mean, it's the oldest one in the fleet right now. So after that, they're all on 7-year plans. This is the last one that didn't have a 7-year warranty. I will still fill out the paperwork and submit that to tour, but that's, I know where we're at. The rest of the stuff is a smaller, more budget item stuff.
And then paving, we're looking at Pine Hill
Yeah,
for about 110 grand and Paint Turnpike,
which is probably gonna be about the same.
110 from Fisher to, no, Fisher to this one or Edison?
About the city water system down to the city line is the absolute worst. That's in that paving. I can't remember exactly. In the stuff that we're doing with Carl and his associate there. We've taken some of these larger roads like Van Turnpike North and broken it into 3 segments. So it's not I mean, the year that it would get paved, it wouldn't get completely paved. We pick a section, okay, this section's the worst out of it. This would be the section that went into this year's schedule. It's like we're trying to set up that whole schedule through Carl and stuff like that. So I think it broke down somewhere around the city water system to the city line. And then from like that point back to like Fisher Road and then Fisher Road to 62. It's broken into 3 segments, the same as Scott Hill. There's a few other ones. So like when you would do a paving project, this would be you would pick a segment instead of having to pay. I mean, it would cost at today's prices, I would dare say $500,000 to pave from 62 to the city line. Full width, that road is extremely wide.
That section from the water treatment plant to the city line it appears to be differently engineered than the rest of the road anyway.
I think it's sub-base. I think it's just the soil is horrible. Maybe not. Like I spoke with him, tour. We've had very good luck with the reclaiming. And I think I would like to look at that segment as a reclaim pave. Roll all that asphalt in, grind it all in, regrade it. And try to, I mean, there's probably gonna be there's a few catch basins down the bottom. So there would be some drainage. If the basins need to be replaced or at least reworked. it would be that somewhat of an estimated cost to have to reclaim it and redo it. We looked at it early last summer. They gave me a quote because we put it in for a class 2 grant, so I'd have to look through the emails, but I have a pretty close, I mean, as of this year, estimate cost on what to do, and there was a couple of different variants. We had talked about just milling it and repaving it. They talked about milling just the travel lanes and repaving it. And I think they gave me a quote for a full reclaim, roll it all in, regrade it, and then the full 2.5 base course with 1.5 inch wear. So that's gonna be the pricier. But
You get a better product.
you get a better product. Longevity, there's definitely there's something different in that segment down there. It definitely acts different. The road moves a lot more down through there. I still haven't found an answer why our road is so wide. The only thing I can think of is at some point when they put the interstate through, when they did these, I mean, like the belt line down to Berry City, I think maybe they had some sort of plan that was gonna be like another belt line down to the city of Montpelier, because it goes from 60 feet wide through our position, our segment, to 24 feet wide at the city line, curves on both sides. And it would be, I would like to see that road be narrowed for our usage. I mean, there probably would have to be a traffic study and some stuff like that, but I think throughout the future of the town, that road should get narrowed up a little bit. It's come to the point now, pavement. It's come to the point now where we don't plow at full width during a storm because traffic won't stay in the center of the road. They'll run right up against both ditch lines, and then there's a full 20 feet in the center of the road where all the salt is on the yellow line that traffic don't. Yeah, so that's the future plans.
You said Pine Hill as well.
That's one that we've been putting off and putting off.
Yeah.
I'd like to mention, we put in for a class 2 grant this year for Payne Turnpike and didn't get it. Doesn't mean we can't apply.
We'll definitely apply again. That's gonna be the main goal for, like to say, until we get the class 2 grant, so cover for that. I mean, we don't have a lot of class 2. Airport Road, Scott Hill, Payne Turnpike, Junction Road, Uxbrook. That I believe qualify for the paving grants. If they can. There might be 1 or 2 that I missed.
More of this to come in future meetings.
Peddler's permit, are we gonna move on from budget? Yeah. Okay, peddler's.
Yeah.
Permit, Berlin Mall.
So Christmas trees are back at the Berlin Mall this year. after being absent for a couple of years. So Duffy Gardner has submitted a peddler's permit application. For selling Christmas trees and wreaths at the Berlin Mall, 11 a.m. to 7 p.m. Tuesday through Sunday through December 23rd.
This is the same one that's
So-
been there?
No, there's somebody new.
Oh.
Somebody new.
Let's see. He's been advertising on Front Porch Forum. And so I would move to approve the permit pending the receipt of the $150 application fee and authorize the town administrator to sign.
Second.
Any discussion? Did he get this to us late? I see November 29th on here. Okay,
He had to be encouraged to apply.
oh. It'd be nice to have trees and wreaths, just,
Well, I was looking at the capacity of the police evidence locker to be able to hold a huge amount of Christmas trees, but it's a moot point at this point. So I was even lining up people to make a controlled buy of illicit Christmas trees. But that is,
okay.
yeah, that is no longer, it's no longer needed. And I welcome Duffy to the town of Berlin. Hope it starts. So, Mike Muller was here for several years, and I hope Duffy can continue for several years.
All in favor?
Aye.
Right?
Opposed? Approved.
Bye, Tim.
Thank you, Tim.
Bye, Nick.
Yeah. So,
Good night, Ryan.
financial process.
No.
Processes.
Do I have?
Skipped.
Oh, do we have
P?
Yeah.
bid opening? Yeah. Sorry.
So we are,
I need chocolate.
I think I ate all of it in the town clerk's office. I got the last thing of
To
M&Ms.
bring some next time.
So mentioned before, we're very quickly approaching the threshold to be ordered by the state to conduct a townwide reappraisal. So we put out the RFP in anticipation of that. We received one bid, which I included in your packets from Nemrick. They mentioned that they will not be able to start the reappraisal until summer of 2028, finishing in summer of 2030, which is, we knew there was going to be a delay in them taking start. I didn't quite realize it would be 3.5-year starting time, but if that's the only bid we received, and I did receive from other indications from other companies that they were not interested in bidding on this. So I recommend approval and move to approve this bid.
1 second.
In discussion, do I see the total cost?
I
Yeah.
thought it was like 170.
175 too?
Yeah,
That's what I'm saying, okay.
yes.
It's not like this is voluntary. It's gonna have to happen.
Right,
Right,
right. And I don't want to, delay this process any further.
Right.
I don't know, waiting.
next thing you know, you won't be starting until
Till 2020,
2020.
yeah,
Yeah.
yeah.
Is that a reasonable cost? I've never been part of
Yes,
Appraisal
I
process.
would, in fact, that came in lower than I was expecting.
Based on their list, I can't imagine that they're out of line. They're doing all this else.
And, Ed was previously our town appraiser. So he's very familiar with the town.
Oh, so that helps.
Everything, so, yeah.
All in favor,
Aye.
opposed? Approved. Okay. So now it's the financial processes manual.
Yeah, we talked before about wanting or even recommendation from the auditor. It's not a finding, but a recommendation that we complete a comprehensive financial processing manual, and at the same time, go over our processes with the treasurer's office, and we were able to find somebody with great expertise and history on doing this, Carol Dawes. She has done exactly this type of work and currently doing this type of work with Berry City. She's completed the manual.
Dawes.
Dawes, D-A-W-S. She's a former clerk and treasurer in Berry. So we talked to her, and I moved that we appoint her to this position.
I'll second, but do we have a cap on the amount we're gonna spend, or is this just, how do we manage the funding?
We're looking at approximately 10 hours per week.
Okay, and
I mean, it might vary, some weeks might be a little bit more and some weeks might be less, but.
yeah, no, I guess I'm just asking, do we anticipate if we have a limit to the amount of money we can spend on this, or is it just until it's done? I mean, not that I think we should do it. I just don't know if we.
Until it's done.
Okay, and we're okay funding wise with, yeah.
How many hours are we looking? How many weeks are we looking? You have an idea?
Weeks, I don't really know. Items to include in that is all of
Yeah, I mean.
and all of this.
I mean, it's important.
Correct.
It seems like we are, we know there are some things that need
Some
correcting.
training opportunities, yeah.
Yeah, so I don't. I feel like we kind of need to, I'm in favor.
Thank you.
If there's no more discussion, all in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? So. Is it gonna start?
Tomorrow at 1.
What's that?
Tomorrow at 1.
Oh. We already had it scheduled. Okay, so I guess if there's nothing, approval of warrants,
Did I read these all together?
Yeah.
So I move to approve payroll warrant 25-111 for payroll from November 17th, 2024 to November 30th, 2024 to be paid on December 4th, 2024 in the amount of $89,970.45, and to approve payable warrant 25G11 with check number 24507 to 24536 in the amount of $153,652.07, and to approve Berlin Volunteer Fire Department Selectmen's orders for June and September.
Yes, I'll have to second it.
Any discussion? All in favor?
I
Opposed?
forgot to ask Ron when he was here about the October selectmen orders.
Minutes.
There's one set from Monday, November 4th. This was the meeting that was held at the school. I sent these out earlier
Yeah.
today. I did make a few minor corrections, but nothing overly substantial. So I will move to approve.
I'll second.
If there's no discussion, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Here's the thing I would say is problematic. It's a little inky up there where it goes, all the lists everybody, and then it starts with selectmen, and then it goes to who's present. And it's just.
This format is very weird. It's something with Word that like it changes margins in the middle of the document. And not just the left margin, but the right margin. It sometimes cuts things off very quickly. I don't like it, but I get cranky. Your liquor license.
Liquor license.
So this is exciting. We received a application for a new liquor license holder. Casa Azteca,
Oh,
class 1 and 3 liquor license. This is the Mexican restaurant that is going into the old
Panera.
Panera building, yes. So I move to approve.
I'll second.
Any discussion? If not, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed?
Do we know when they anticipate opening?
I do not. It can't be soon enough, but
Check that out. It's always nice to see something going in vacant buildings.
yes.
Roundtable. Carol.
What was I gonna ask about? Oh, I know what I was gonna ask about. Sure. Is anything going on with the state and Payne Turnpike? Has there been any, the garage, like they were gonna engage with the town and, I mean, is any of that happening or?
No, no.
Okay, just wanted to, okay, just checking.
Thanks for rubbing salt in that. But
No, I just didn't know if, I mean, I assume the sale happened. I don't even know if that happened.
it is my understanding it did happen. In fact, I know, I've seen the property transfer
Okay.
form. So that is now off of our grand list.
Yeah.
And in your delinquent, you'll notice that that property is delinquent now. But we think the state will pay for the remainder of this year's taxes.
Oh, okay, good.
Because it was on the tax rolls as of April 1st. But moving forward, they're not. And then as far as, I don't know if Tom's heard anything from the DRB side as far as plans or anything, but nothing from our
Okay,
side on
just checking.
the
No,
project, yeah.
that's all I got.
Anything to her?
I do not.
Well, just gonna say, in the last week, everybody's celebrating Thanksgiving. Both PD and Fire had a tough week with, I do believe, 4 untimelies dealing with that.
Really?
So, yes. Not with it within their membership.
No, but like,
You did have that in the last week. And so you just keep them in mind. Anyway,
Interesting.
And then a couple busy days. When the ice and the snow.
they were busy.
Yeah.
So that's it. If there's nothing else, is there executive session?
No.
Okay,
Move to adjourn. Woo-hoo.
is there a second?
No, Tor wants to stay.
All in
I will
favor?
second.